How have you been inspired by Ada Lovelace? What was your starting point for this piece?
First of all, her formulation of the possibilities for music. And that was personally important for me because basically what I do is in various ways computer-assisted composition and computer-assisted creation and creation of instruments. So that for me is obviously extremely important. But then the other thing is too that there's a very famous quote from her about the fact that we are the ones who are programming. And I think this is really fascinating. When I was reading, for instance, Alan Turing, his very famous article, the dialogue that there is with that point of view, and I think that's a point of view that's extremely important to consider right now. The idea of what is our responsibility in programming AI and so on.
Now, the piece is for mezzo-soprano, ensemble, and interactive piano machine. There it is. There is a lot of, I'm not sure if anybody's had a chance to have a look, but there is quite a lot of extra stuff inside that piano. It's quite complicated. Describe what's actually happening.
Okay, so what's happening is that there's actually a physical excitation of the instrument, which is controlled by various processes. So for each note of the piano, there is a tiny little motor that makes the string come into motion. Not all at once, of course. It's just when they should.
So, and it's a different range of sounds, and some of them very, very quiet, as we'll hear, different textures.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the idea of having a different kind of control and a different timbre possibilities for the instrument.
Now, you used AI to generate a score using existing pieces of music, which I know is something you do quite a bit, isn't it? So how do you do that? And will we recognize the music?
Yes, I think that, well, I always say that I leave that to people for their own listening, to make the experience of it that they will. I think, like, when we talk about AI, we talk a lot about similarity matching, right? So, for instance, you can take a selfie of yourself and put it on an app, and then, I don't suggest doing that, by the way, but anyway, you can take a selfie of yourself, put it on an app, and that can compare it to great works of art, and it'll find a portrait that's similar. So we can do the same thing with little instances of music or sound that to find something that's similar. So that could be in different forms. That could be in something that's played by the machine. That could be in a score that's then transcribed. That could be in electronic. So there's different ways that we can do that kind of concatenation, which is exactly the word Ada Lovelace would use of this kind of similarity matching.
Come on, which piece? Which composer?
Purcell. I thought Purcell was appropriate for a lot of different reasons, but especially I chose this piece. I chose this piece for a few reasons. Partly, it's this piece called Hosanna, Hosanna to the Highest, which is one of his least known pieces, actually. So there were fewer recordings out there, which in a certain way was quite interesting to me, to hone in on the recordings that existed and look at the expressive differences in these different recordings. And then sometimes what I'm doing is I'm actually comparing one recording to another. Also, it has a ground bass, which is this repeating pattern. So it was possible as well to do a similarity matching between different instantiations of the ground bass. So it was these formal and expressive possibilities that interested me there.
So you've used the Purcell piece with its ground bass. You've also used Ada Lovelace's letters.
That's right, because what happens is taking the different versions of Purcell and doing this kind of similarity matching, what happens is it scrambles the text. So it made a lot of these and these strange sentences. And so then what I did was I did a kind of other similarity matching with the letters of Ada Lovelace to find phrases, terms, and so on that would be called up by these new scrambled texts.
So how would you describe the role of the singer?
Well, she has a very interesting role because also what's happening is as material is being generated for the piano machine, which you're going to hear, there's also material that's generated for Marta, which in real time she has to interpret. So she's a part of the machine.
Uh-huh.